I got another interesting video idea that I want to share with everybody. It's not a sound test video. It's not a guide or tips and tricks or an instructional video. It's basically a modding video. As you can see here, I got my dusty and old Logitech G710 Plus with Cherry MX Browns soldered in. And I've had this for about 8 years. Ordered it January 3rd, 2016 off of Amazon. I also have its friend, the less dusty G710 Plus with Cherry MX Blues. Now, I've used both of these boards since 2016 until I joined the keyboard hobby in 2021, 3 years ago. And back then, I had no idea what stabilizers were, had no idea what sounded good or bad. These were just fine keyboards that I used. Now, after knowing how to solder, and after realizing all the many different things that I like in the keyboard hobby, I kind of want to mod these two boards and see how far I could take it. And yes, these two keycap sets are clones. This one is a Milk and Honey clone, and this other one is a Red Samurai clone. Back in 2021, I didn't know what clones were. I just searched keycaps, and I thought that by replacing the stock keycaps, I would look cool. Well, that started my ever downward spiral into the hobby, and since then, I've kept going deeper and deeper. That's what she said. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a sound test of both of these keyboards, and then I'm going to mod both of these keyboards by desoldering, by desoldering the switches that are in there. And I'm pretty sure they use lead-free solder, so this is going to be really interesting. After I desolder them, I'll figure out what switches I want to use, and I'll resolder switches in, and then I'll come up with a sound test at the end. Anyways, thanks for watching, and let's see how far I can mod these two keyboards. Alright. Honestly, besides the rattly stabs, they don't sound too bad, but both boards still sound really, really far from what I want them to sound like. Good news is that I found all of the original keycaps for these boards, so I'm never going to have to use these clones ever again. First of all, we're going to remove all these keycaps, and then we're going to try and open the board up, and then I'm going to get to a point where hopefully I can remove the PCB and start desoldering. Alright, now let's open these bad boys up. All right, well, as you can see, a couple of screws and a couple clip tabs, and we have the two PCBs out. Well, PCB, the plate, and the switches. As you can see, they're all soldered in there. They're frankly pretty easy to remove. So, you know what time it is. Let's get to desoldering. All right, I just wanted to make this quick clip, and I didn't bother or want to trying to getting the camcorder out and getting the mic set up or anything, so just recording this on my phone. But basically, quick tip, if you're working with lead-free solder, or even if you're using solder with lead and you're having a hard time desoldering, you can see here that I've been trying to desolder on the brown keyboard, and it's just not working as good as I'd expect, as good as I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add leaded solder to these stuck LEDs, and then I'm going to desolder everything. This is because if you add leaded solder to lead-free solder, that should get everything nice and flowing, and you'll be able to desolder it in one go. All right. So, in the event that you don't want to use a soldering pump, desoldering pump, you can also use flux and a little bit of soldering or desoldering wick to desolder. Let me see if I can get this on camera. So basically I put flux on the solder joints, and then I'm going to put the wick on top of the flux, and then I have my soldering iron on top of the wick. And as you can see, the solder is getting absorbed by the soldering wick. You can see that the desoldering wick has turned from that copper color to a grayish color because, oops, let me push this forward, because the solder is now in the wick. All right, and let's turn this over. See if we can pull out the switch. I don't like working with lead-free solder because it's a little more difficult to desolder, but as you can see, as long as you have the patience and the tools, it's not an issue. Alrighty, so as you can see, after we desoldered everything and after I clipped the legs of the 5-pin switches, because this PCB only accepts 3-pin switches, we finally have our fully built PCB and plate. As you can see, I ran out of switches, so I had to kind of improvise. But what I used was these, I don't even know what they're called, Emogogos? Basically, I got them as a giveaway present from the streamer 99gogo. So I think they're long pole, I don't know. And I think she modded them as well, but I've been waiting to use them on a board, so I figured I'd use them on this board. I didn't have enough to cover the entire board, so I have 3 Geon Black linears here. And then for the numbers and most of the F-row, I just have some leftover iceberg linears. And something that relates back to my tips and tricks video is that when I turn this over, as you can see, the switches aren't sitting flush with the PCB. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly what I said in that video and put rubber bands around the top of the plate and the PCB to hold everything together while I solder. And again, like I said in that video, you're going to have to make sure to move the rubber bands around so you don't solder on the rubber bands. But this is better than the alternative, which is not having the switches in place when you solder. Alright, hopefully I don't hit myself in the face. Let's put one there. And let's put one more in the middle. Now, actually, let's put another one. Let's do 5. Awesome. There you go. As you can see, when I turn it over, no problems at all. All right. So the next step is soldering. So let's get to it. Well, there you have it. After needing to use a little bit more of flux, I was able to solder all of the Emogogos switches, the 3 Geon linears, and the rest of the upgrade icebergs. Looks pretty good to me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everything back together, and let's see what this baby sounds like. Well, everybody, we did it. As you can see, I put all the keycaps back together. Real quick, the reason why I have metal keycaps for the QWER ASDF is because I could not find those keys. I'm pretty sure that I wore them out and they cracked or something, because I couldn't find them at all. But I found these 8 keys. It works. I plugged it in, and I've got to say, this was a pretty cool project. Now, instead of doing the same thing with the other Logitech G710 Plus with the Cherry MX Blues, I'm gonna have y'all vote on what switches and any mods I should do with that one. I'm gonna comment with a few switch choices and a mod or two, and let me know what you want me to pick. This is no dampening, no foams, nothing whatsoever. All I did was lubed and tuned the stabs. I removed the stock Cherry MX Browns. I put in the Emo Go-Go N1s with a couple Geon Linears and a couple upgrade icebergs, and that's what we got here. Appreciate you all. Thanks for watching my videos, and again, make sure to leave a comment telling me what switch I should use. Until next time, here's the sound test.